Welcome to our presentation on joint application design. This is written by Daniel Craig and Keith Wheeler.
That's right. So the first question is to answer, what is JAD? JAD stands for Joint Application Design. The application of JAD is a way of involving all the stakeholders in a project in the design process of that project. If we, for example, were commissioned to create a software for a hospital, we want to involve all the doctors, the nurses, the administrators, and anyone else who might be involved with the use of this on the day-to-day basis in the hospital. So it's a way of making sure that everyone's voice is heard in the development process, and it's a way of making sure that the application meets the requirements of the organization that commissions it.
All right. So in the meeting, we have the facilitator, and to our research says that the facilitator is a guy that is not a part of the stakeholders. He is outside of the project, so that he doesn't have a stake in this project. And then there's the various, like the executive sponsor, the project manager, the data architect, people that are involved in the process of designing this program.
So some guidelines for a successful JAD basically could be summed up as saying that you need to involve everyone, you need to make sure that everyone understands their roles and that they all feel invested. You need to be organized, and you need to have a clear agenda and stick with it. And you'll know that your JAD sessions have been successful if you produce your final document quickly. And these requirements that you see listed here were from a paper published by Yatco that you'll find in the bibliography at the end of the presentation.
So during the meeting agenda needs to be very rigid and set so that the meeting continues to produce for the document. So you start out with an introduction where the facilitator would stand up and introduce himself and say welcome to the project, and then the project sponsor or the manager would say a few words and get it started off. And the facilitator would keep the meeting rolling as you go. So you'd go through the overview, different things like problems that you have so far with the project. If this meeting were like in the middle of the project, or if it's at the beginning, you can discuss requirements, or you can discuss different things that the program needs to do. And then lunch break. Sometimes these will go pretty long, so lunch break is pretty important. And then vision of future state, and then a break, and then you'd have a review at the end where you would write this document to keep for future reference.
And in our research, we found that typically JAD sessions can go as long as 3 days, and they're considered to be most successful when they produce a document quickly, but they can certainly go more than 1 day in order to involve all the voices that need to be heard to define the specifications for a project as complicated as some of those that JAD is used to design. In our research, we found in the document that we read as a class by Mr. Shams Al-Uriv, we found some of the advantages of JAD. Some of those are namely that it provides rapid decision-making process, meaning that it makes it easy for decisions to be made quickly simply by virtue of having everyone involved in the decision-making process together in the same room. It handles the rapid changeability in requirements, he says, or one way to put it would be that when decisions need to be made, they can be simply made quickly, kind of similar to the first point that was made as well. It provides a well-formatted, structured approach. Key to that is, as Keith was explaining, the well-structured schedule and expectations that everyone understand their role and participate and feel invested in the project. It's very important that everyone in a JAD session be involved, because that's the only way that their voice is going to be heard, that the project is really going to fit their department or their basically the people that they represent's needs. And finally, it provides direct communication between all stakeholders in the project. So overall, it's a very high communication, high coordination approach to software design.
So the drawbacks are that you have to have a huge amount of experience and expertise in what the problem is so that the document will be straightforward and will be able to describe the problems that you have. Some of the drawbacks of joint application design is that it is a meeting for the higher ups, the managers, the people who aren't necessarily going to be the final people to use it. When I was meeting with the student body president, she's kind of the head of all the students, kind of a thing. And so she can get responses from the students, but she is not going to be the ultimate user of the application. Kind of like the project manager. He's not going to be the ultimate user of the application. He's kind of creating the project in the first place, or managing it. We had a meeting with the student body president, and what she had told us is just a few suggestions that she would like to see in this calendar app, and those are sorted by the due date, and then by class, then priority. So in your day, you'd have all your different classes. You'd have like 4 different classes, say, and inside of those classes, they would be done by priority. So you'd set a priority as your lowest grade, and it would show you those first, and then it would show you your other classes. And then another thing that she wanted to see was that the teachers would be able to input a realistic finish time, kind of like the time, if you understand what's going on, like the time that it would take for somebody to do the assignment. So like if somebody that understood the homework or the reading, they'd be able to finish the quiz in like 30 minutes or something, instead of the preset 2 hours that has been set by iLearn previously. To have a preset alert that would alert the person before the time it's due. So if it requires 30 minutes, then it would alert them 30 minutes before. But the student could change that to whatever time they want. So like the day before, or like the week before, or something. She would also like to see grade input. So I thought of it as the calendar would fetch the data from the university for the grade and input it next to the assignment, so that they can see what their grades are from past assignments.
And then these are our sources that we used for the assignment. We looked through the IEEE database that was available through the school library's website, and these are the sources that we found. Many of these were very instructive on JAD. They were, some of them older than others, but throughout we found that they were all helpful, and that overall we were able to gather lots of information that was important, even though not all of it appears here in the presentation. They're all very helpful papers on JAD, and some of them are on specific applications of JAD. And so this has been our presentation. Thanks for watching. Keith and I are grateful for your attention, and we hope that this contributes meaningfully to the project. And thank you for your time.